Hello friends, this is Dr. John WorldPEACE JD coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's 11 o'clock in the morning on the 18th, Mountain Time. We're going to talk about World Peace Teaching Peace, Lesson Commentary 10,013, How the Democrats Win in 2022 in the House and the Senate. With the Republicans disenfranchising Democratic black voters, there's only one way to remove Republican voters to more than compensate for the loss of Democratic voters in the U.S. Senate and the House votes. And that is to drive a wedge between Trump and his Republican racist base of fundamentalist evangelical Baptists. This is a voter base that's far larger than the black voter base. What has to be done is to brand Trump as anti-Jesus, anti-Christ, which he is. Blacks are a greater percentage of the Baptists than the evangelical and fundamental Christians. There are two primary ways to separate Trump from his base of these Christians. You got to point out that the words out of Trump's own mouth is anti-Christ, anti-Christian. Second, you've got to get rid of abortion as a legislative issue. If Trump doesn't have that issue, he's got nowhere else to grab a bunch of votes. Before I go forward, the foundational common denominator attraction of Donald Trump is his white racism. He's the last great white hope of white Americans, most rabidly the white baby boomers. Within 10 years, most of these baby boomers will be dead or used up physically or brain dead. So we're only talking about Trump as a problem in 2024. And with that dream, the white racists are a threat to Democrats in 2022. If Trump wasn't running in 2024, I don't think there would be such a great influence of him in 2022. Now, you may not believe that I am a white baby boomer, born, raised, and lived in Houston, Texas, in the South, and I know about racism. I've written a book called Raw White Racism, and it's on for sale there at Amazon.com. It's based on my personal experiences with white racists and blacks during my life. Bigotry is not floating around in open conversations, but I can assure you that it is very much alive with the white baby boomers. Because I'm a white male baby boomer, I can walk up to any group of white males, and they really don't pay attention to me. I'll look like one of them. If they give me any kind of challenge, then I will bring up that I'm Southern by birth, have a law degree, served in the Army, have a Christian orientation, and even mention my time spent as a Mason. And that overcomes all challenges. So the point is, I can walk up on these groups of white males and listen to what they're saying. And the truth is, the way they talk separated so nobody can hear them is not any different than it was back in the 60s. The point is, I can validate that nothing has changed since the 60s with regards to white racism that is now simply behind closed doors and not out in the open. By the time King stood out and took over the civil rights movement, those of my age already had 20 plus years of Southern racist indoctrination. It saturated everything and virtually everybody. The great fear among the whites is being a minority race in their America. Over and above everything else, they don't want that scenario, even though we're not in the majority now, but it's a thin difference. Now, with regards to Trump and his Republican base of Baptists, evangelicals, and fundamental Christians, Jesus is the most liberal human who ever lived. His message is love one another. Do unto others as you would have done to you. Do not judge others. Turn the other cheek. Help the poor. Heal the sick. Support the weak and downtrodden. Presently in America, Trump Republicans do not connect Jesus as an ultra-left, radical liberal. Their preachers do not remind them of this fact. Why? It's very simple. Trump does not talk about white racism. No one who wants to get elected to anything can publicly announce they are white racist. As in, if you're white, all right. If you're brown, hang around. If you're black, get back. Whites understand Trump is pro-white supremacy. What Trump does is to attack the liberals. That's his red meat. The radical left who are destroying America, per Trump. How are they destroying America? They, the Democrats, are taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor in order to uplift the bottom of the social pyramid. Generally speaking, that's what the liberals are about. Certainly what Jesus was about. The rich do not want to uplift the poor. All that would mean is that taxes have to be levied on the rich to write the checks to uplift the poor. And for what? The more you uplift them, the more trouble they cause. The rich have worked long and hard promoting capitalism and selling on credit, which is economic enslavement. You put so much debt on the poor, they have to work all the time to maintain their credit so they can borrow more, buy more. Capitalism is a very predatory, with its economic enslavement of the ignorant due to their lack of education with regards to basic family economics and their economic value in the workforce. This keeps them enslaved to the banks, which are owned by the rich. The interest on their debt flows up to the rich, who get richer, and the poor stay the same. Educated Democrats create a lot of problems for the rich. The God of the rich is money. Trump talks about it all the time. His only metric is more money. So Trump's outspoken mantra is that the radical left wants to uplift the bottom of the social pyramid, create chaos and dissatisfaction among those on the bottom of the social pyramid for more change. Now here is the dagger to the throat of Trump's radical left message. Christians, by witnessing that they are saved by Jesus and their adoption of Jesus' message to help the disenfranchised bottom of the world human society social pyramid, now are trapped between the message of the great white hope, Trump, of screw the radical left as hard as you can, and the message of the radical leftist Jesus to constantly reach out to those at the bottom of the social pyramid and uplift their lives. Jesus is a radical liberal. Bottom line, you can't serve Jesus and Trump. You can't serve God and money. The fact that Trump constantly curses the radical left is an anti-Jesus, anti-saved Christian message. Trump's radical left mantra is a cursing of Jesus' message. Jesus said, "A house divided cannot stand." The message of Trump is screw the radical left without saying out loud, screw Jesus and his Good Samaritan BS. But that is the Trump message. And it's plain as day, clear as a bell. Trump screams out in every breath, screw the radical left, while under his breath says, screw Jesus, the stupid Christian and his stupid Christian left followers. The Trump and Republican God is money. Their only metric is money. More money, more money, more money. There's never enough money. Rich or never rich enough. The way to break the Baptist, evangelical, and fundamental Christians away from Trump is the mantra in every media, print advertisement, everywhere. Jesus is a radical liberal, and I believe in Jesus. What then, Trump? You cannot fall back on open white racism message. That's not available. Now he cannot attack the radical left without cursing Jesus. What message does he have left? What then, Trump? Well, there is one more impactful but lesser message of Trump that ropes in the Baptist, evangelical, fundamental Christians, and that's abortion. Now, there are three false flags in the anti-abortion message. One, you can kill a finite, mortal human body. You can terminate a fetus, but you cannot kill the infinite, immortal, God-made soul that animates that fetus, and the dust body, if the fetus is born, dies. No matter how many human you kill in a war, no matter how many humans you kill in the war, no matter how many criminals you execute, no matter how many fetuses you abort, you cannot kill the God-made soul which inhabits the dust body of every one of us. There's not an issue of real death of the soul in abortion. It's about death of a finite, mortal body, whether it's a fetus or a living, breathing human being. When these righteous Christians refuse to allow abortions, they have always refused to take ownership of adopting or supporting those unwanted fetuses. Their intent is, no way in hell we Christians are going to sign off for welfare and entitlements for these unwanted babies we demand be born. Here's how Christians cure the anti-abortion legislation. They insist that any anti-abortion legislation have a financing attachment to support that unwanted child with food, clothes, medical care, and a college education. And here's where the government can get the money. The state governments quit giving tax exemptions to church property and take that money to finance the welfare of these children that the Christians demand to be born and send it off to Washington to be distributed as soon as the fetus becomes a living child. With this scenario, the anti-abortion legislation issue disappears. 25%, this is number 3, 25% of Americans absolutely refuse to get vaccinated. They demand the right not to get vaccinated. I don't agree with that attitude and consider it traitorous, but that's okay. So now we need to apply the anti-vax right to the right of women to choose an abortion. First, if you're an anti-vaxxer, then you need to shut up about abortions, because both vaccine and abortion are about personal freedom and rights. If you demand unwanted fetuses be allowed to be born as children, then you either agree to adopt one of these unwanted children or agree that the government tax first the Christians, churches who put out that message, and second, all Americans be taxed to ensure these children are taken care of. At judgment, when Jesus is condemning people to go to hell, they want to know, Lord, when did we see you angry or thirsty or a stranger or in prison and did not take care of you? Then Jesus will say, truly I say to you, to the extent that you did not do it to the least of you, you did it to me. These will go to hell. Eternal punishment is what happens. Jesus, in another part of the Bible, says, it's not just how you act. It's not just what you say. It's what you think that can get you in trouble. So you're demanding these women have these children, and then they have pain and suffering, which you're not going to help with in any way, because you're not going to pay the money to do that when they're paid to feed them when they're hungry and get well when they're sick and see a doctor when they're sick. You just want the child born, the fetus to be born and become a child, but you don't want to take responsibility for that child. Well, according to Jesus, that's going to send you straight to hell. So if you believe in the teachings of Jesus and you have been saved, then you have no business supporting Donald Trump or his anti-Christian Republicans who spew hate for the radical left message of Jesus, love one another. As Elijah the prophet challenged the false priest of Baal, and Jesus challenged the false rabbis of Judaism who killed him for his actions and his attacks, I, Dr. John WorldPEACE JD, am challenging the false preachers of corporate Christianities, the ones that say vote for Trump. I'm ready to debate any false preacher, and they're all false per Hebrews 8:10-12, in the New Testament in Jeremiah 31, 33, 34 in the Old Testament, that says God has put his laws in every human heart and mind, and no one needs to teach anyone. This means that the preacher is teaching his truth. There's 200 denominations of Christianity. There's lots of nuances. How do you know who to follow? You don't. You find that in your own heart, in your own mind. Jesus said, if the blind lead the blind, they both fall in a ditch. If you follow anyone in regards to what is Jesus, what is God, you're probably going to end up in a ditch, which is a metaphor for hell. God is in your heart. Study, pray, meditate. You'll get the truth. You don't need a preacher to spoon feed you his beliefs. 200 denominations, 200 plus differences of opinion about Jesus and Christianity. I'm ready to debate any of these false preachers, but I suggest before they try to debate me, they go to my website, JohnWorldPEACE.com, and read those 15,000 pages. Then they're going to be ready to maybe talk to me on my level. I'm one man with one message, world peace. And within that one message, I'm significantly advocating that if you're a Christian, that you do not support in any way Donald Trump or any Republican. They are anti-Christian. They are traitors to the United States Constitution in their demand that money rules politics, not the Constitution. Republicans do not pledge allegiance to America, but to the government that rich Americans can purchase through Republican politicians who vote money, not Jesus teaching one love another. Love one another, not the Constitution of all-inclusive truth and justice, and that all citizens are given equality, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and not enslavement of the body or enslavement of one's personal economics, and the absolute right to vote. Let those that have eyes see and those that have ears hear. I'm Dr. John World Peace, the only global advocate for peace and world peace. I've been world peace since Good Friday, 1988, when I changed my name as a statement of what I stand for and what my work is. Dr. John World Peace, the only advocate for Jesus Christ, per John 14:26, 15:26, 16:13. I came into this life to remind you of the spiritual words of Jesus and distinguish how they have been skewed by the false preachers of corporate Christianity, and especially the televangelists. I have no church or organization, nothing to join or to become a member of. I live a minimalist life, not quite as austere as Jesus. No assets, no home, no car, no stocks, no bonds. Not because I can't get those things. I have degrees in accounting and law, And I have had insurance, accounting, tax, law, and web design businesses in my career. Plenty of money. But I'm trying to promote world peace. Trying to create, as much as I can, a more sane and just society. And try to live closer to the way Jesus lived. This is Dr. John WorldPEACE JD. Thanks for your consideration. Have a good day.